Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for joining us on KTN Prime. Let's get into the conversation, and mostly when you listen to news and follow the updates, the question remains, so what? What next? That is what we seek to answer here with those in the know. And of course, I mentioned them earlier on. I want to give them a chance to share their perspectives on the status quo of the country. Professor Peter Kagwanja is joining us. He is a CEO, Africa Policy Institute, but I also know him as a policy analyst, governance analyst as well. Thank you, Professor, for creating time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Kathy Irungu, political analyst. Yes. We're following closely. I started listening to you all the way when you're talking about the, women campaigning in 2022.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
and you said there's a possibility. And in fact, we saw quite a number of governors coming up.
Yes.
We shall tap into that wisdom shortly.
Great. Asante.
I want to appreciate Alenga Torrestad, who is a policy and governance analyst. Why is your name very difficult, that last one, and the T is silent?
I don't think it is difficult. The only thing I know about it is that you can't have it short in Gikuyu.
Oh.
It will be Toro.
So you cannot say Toro. Yeah. All right, let's start with that, because we saw quite a number of things happening over the weekend. It's getting hotter by the day. And some people are questioning if Mount Kenya is one, as far as, the region is concerned. We're looking at a bit of hostility, on the ground. First, let me just get your recap of the weekend. Alenga, what did you see? What do you observe? What did you make of it to tonight?
Thanks, Doris, for welcoming me on your show, and thanks to my fellow panelists, Professor Peter Kagwanja and Catherine. I truly appreciate your presence, and we have to do this tonight together. I think the last, let's say technically the last 1 month has been a very, very busy month in this country in terms of politics, in terms of rhetoric, in terms of engagement with the public and what is just happening in the political sphere. But what is most important to discuss is this hallmark decision that is going to happen possibly the end of this week through the Senate, and that will be the very, very first time we are impeaching a deputy president as a country, and possibly there's a lot of political implications that it will come with, and I hope tonight we're going to delve into that in depth and see what does it portend for the country going forward.
All right.
But in a nutshell, it is a moment for Kenya, and let us try to discuss this away from the tribal card that it has been given, so that we understand as a country, in our democracy, in our growth, what are we learning from this experience. Would it be possible, though, in all honesty, to avoid the political or the ethnic side of it? Because if you look at the grounds of impeachment, it comes out vividly. He was inciting people along tribal lines. He was insinuating that Mount Kenya is more prominent than the rest. Would it be possible that as we discuss this, we avoid that particular tribal line? It is very important because, as you have said it very clearly, that is one of the charges. Yes. So if that is one of the charges, then it means we should vacate from that position and try to show even the person that is being, that is facing the trial, that what you did is bad, and that's why we are walking out of it. Even in our day-to-day discourse, even in our political rhetoric, are we going to walk away from that? And when a man or woman does something wrong, are we going to face that man or woman as an individual and not the tribe they come from? All right. And so that we can address the issues that usually come with, people going to whip emotions from where they come from. If you look at, ideally, the list of companies that the deputy president is being accused of having used them to make money in a very short time, those companies are not owned by a community. They are owned by him, his sons, and his family. All right, let me hear from Professor. Professor, I appreciate your presence here. And the question here now is, do you agree with Alenga to this extent?
Thank you. I appreciate my colleagues who are with me here tonight. I think I want to assure you that whatever happens, I'm not going to leave Kenya. It's a very nice place to be in. There is no dull moment. You start with protests in 2023. Raila is there in the streets and everybody. Then you move there, Uhuru's goats and all that. Then you come, then you come to Gen Z and the finance bill. And now, an axe is falling on a deputy president. And we are all gripped in it. And the emotions are high. And they have been changing over time. But what is interesting for me is that this is a very interesting time for Kenya because we are coming from deep politics of ethnicity, way back from 1992, then climax 2007, 2008, almost lost the country, and now, depending on how the emotions are whipped, we risk literally getting back there.
In fact, NCIC has just spoken, saying be very careful with how you're going to be dealing with this. The Senate now should be very sensitive.
Yes, and I think it's a moment for those of us who are there in 2007, 2008 to caution those who may not have entered politics that time that this is a very slippery path for us. And what it means is that leadership should be responsible. Impeaching Gachagua is not the end of the road for Kenya. And for Gachagua, being impeached is not the end of the road for Kenya. We have generations and generations to come after us. So we behave like we have a nation to protect. And that means, I know we are used to what we call grievance politics. And by grievance politics, you mean you don't see any cleavage that you don't want to split and open, so that you make political capital. It is important that we be mindful of Mama Kenya.
All right.
And I think what we might lose in this process is that Senate has a very challenging task. Those of us who are at the center of constitutional making in drafting this constitution, we had difficulties elevating Senate above Parliament. Why? Because it's the parliamentarians who are to decide whether the Senate is to be upper house or the lower house. And I remember my friend and mentor, Kiraito Morongi, telling me, Professor, let's go slow on this issue of Senate, whether it's a lower house or upper house, because we might lose the constitution in the process of trying to assert the primacy of the Senate.
All right.
And what happened? We have a moment now for Senate to practically assert itself as the main house.
Indeed. And I want to come back to you. We still have some time here, but I like that you have all given your opening remarks. I want to hear from Kathy here, because the question is, the Deputy President spoke over the weekend and said, I have so much trust in the corridors of justice, the third arm of government. But he has a bit of reservations when it comes to the Senate. Is it because this is a political process? Even though Amason King said, just like Professor said, this is a trying moment for Senate to prove itself as one that upholds the Constitution.
Yeah, I think moving forward, I really, urge my brother and my senior from Nyeri to really change his approach in terms of how he's approaching this matter.
All right.
Because what we expect to see from him is a man who is not going to change goalposts moving forward, because he said that he's going to, if the Senate upholds, and he's impeached totally, then he's going to respect the will and the say from the Senate, and therefore he's going to pave way for another new deputy president to come. But then what actually has been, I'm getting very interested when you think about a deputy president who has been impeached, or who we are. I mean, clearly you can see it's almost done. It's almost done. So
it's almost a done deal.
To me, it's almost a done deal.
Okay.
So how is he going? Why is he insisting in remaining in that office, while we can clearly see that the relationship between him and the president is almost unrepairable, because that is going to be difficult for him. And then look at the members of parliament, look at the Senate. I mean, look at all these people who are speaking. There's something that we can read, from the happenings. And I think the honorable thing that he can do right now is actually to resign before he's impeached totally, through the Senate. But then having said that, we know that he can still seek other ways of this issue to be redressed by the courts. So we expect him clearly, and he has already said he has lawyers. Anyway, we have seen them, so we expect him to use that route also.
All right, I want to take a very short breather, but as we speak, we're looking at Justices Freda Mugambi, Eric Ugola, and Anthony Murima, who have been tasked to look at this matter. That is the hearing and consolidating in as far as that petition filed by Deputy President against his impeachment is concerned. But also, we look at the dynamics of replacements. Remember, even Infotrack has come out to start looking at favorites. Is it Waiguru? Is it Kindiki? Or who would it be? Very interesting. Keep talking to us as well at KTN News. We'll be right back after this break.